Kelly Sadler, I believe, standing by. She's the former special assistant to President Trump. Thanks so much for coming on and talking about this. We had the sheriff on talking about Mayor Bill de Blasio. And it's not just de Blasio who's against the National Guard here, Kelly. Also, many members of the media. Here's how they reacted to military presence at the national monuments, including the Lincoln Memorial here. This picture on the screen here, one reporter writing, quote, "This photo by Martha Raddatz at the Lincoln Memorial is, quote, deeply disturbing." Your thoughts on that?
I had quite the opposite point of view. I thought it was inspirational. I was proud of my country. I think these reporters missed the point that just the night before, the Lincoln Memorial was defaced, as was the World War II Memorial. Here are two memorials, great symbols of how wonderful our country is. A man, Lincoln, who fought, against slavery, and the World War II Memorial, where you had men and women of America fighting against Nazism, and they were defaced. And this president said he was going to do everything that he could to keep Washington, D.C. safe, and that included deploying the National Guard and all of the resources available to Washington, D.C., and he did so last night, and there was no riots, there was no protests. There was some scuffle that broke out at 12:30, but it was quickly put down, and I think this is the way you do lead.
Yeah, mostly peaceful last night. A lot has changed. And there's a lot of talk about that, about how the protesters were pushed back, the type of gas that was used to push them back. What are your thoughts on that? Because there are a lot of folks that are opposing pushing these protesters back in that area.
Well, we have a 7 p.m. curfew here in Washington, D.C. So if you're out past curfew, you're already violating the law. So what good is it to go out at 12:30 at night? Nothing good happens past midnight. You're there to stir problems and agitate, and you need to be dealt with. And so I think the police officers, the National Guard, those deployed by the DOJ, there was a bunch out of the Bureau of Labor of Prisons, the riot guards, all did their job last night, and I couldn't be more proud of our law enforcement.
Yeah, these guys are definitely putting themselves in harm's way, and it's just unreal to see, because I believe it was like 130 officers in Chicago were injured, and so many more across the country. This unfortunately continues. A gentleman by the name of David Dorn, I wanted to make sure we get that in there, a retired police chief, was killed over defending a pawn shop. It's just tough times, and that's why these curfews have been put in effect right here in New York City. Kelly, de Blasio put one in effect now until the end of the weekend. It's not just a one-time thing. Is it the same in D.C.? Is this the best move we can do?
Well, I think it's a good start, and making the curfews earlier. I mean, Muriel Bowser, the mayor of Washington, D.C., said an 11 p.m. curfew. Nothing good came of that. And then you had de Blasio repeat her mistake, because a lot of this rioting happens when the sun goes down, unfortunately. And we're not talking about the peaceful protesters that come out during the day. We encourage that. What happened to George Floyd was absolutely despicable, but they're having their movement hijacked by, quite frankly, these rioters that are just looking to vandalize buildings, steal goods, and ensue anarchy. And that needs to be put a stop to, because they're breaking the law, and we're a nation of laws.
Kelly Sadler, thanks for coming on. I believe I'll see you in just a bit. Thanks so much for sharing your thoughts on this.
Thank you.
Sure.